thank our sponsor, Parati's Quality Meats, located in Cranford, New Jersey, serving customers all over New Jersey for the past 50 years. Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Coach's Talk presented by the Shore Football Report. And today I have a very special guest, and a William Patterson alumni, too, because that's special right there, the head football coach of Brick Township, Lenny Zdanowicz. Lenny, thank you for showing up today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Rob. Pleasure to be on with you, baby.
It's always special when two William Patterson alumni get together. I got one thing to say, though. I hope Coach Gallagher's not looking at this thing right here, because I look in that right-hand corner of a William Patterson football helmet. Was that turned in or was not
that's
turned in?
a replica. That's a replica.
It's a replica. Okay, good. So you're cleared. You're cleared.
Yes.
So if Coach Gallagher's watching this, we will justify that. Coach,
it was a Ricky Rodriguez leftover.
Oh,
Robbie.
Man. Ricky, those names, man, that we keep talking about from William Patterson. Oh, God.
Toby.
My wife says she always makes fun of me. She sends me the ShopRite for 5 items. I go there, and I'm like, call her up. I'd be like, I forgot. What are they? She's like, bread, eggs, ham. She goes, it's amazing how you can remember Coach Gallagher's speeches, word for word, 25, 30 years ago, but you can't remember bread, eggs, ham, milk, and cereal. It was important football back then,
No, that sounds like a replay of every conversation in my house, Coach.
Yes. And enough about our college, because that was the best 12 years of my life. So, good. Hey, Coach, let me introduce you, and then you're going to do a little talking about yourself. That's how this thing goes here. I want to introduce you. Okay. Coach Lenny Zdanowicz is currently the Brick Township High School head football coach for 7 seasons. This is his 7th year. You have won division championship in 2015, but you also brought your football team every year to the state playoffs and twice to the state finals, right? I believe that was 2016 and 2018.
Yes, it was. Yes.
Wow, that's incredible. So you are definitely a consistent football program, and I'm excited to hear about it today in your interview. And then you came from Lakewood as the OC for 1 year. You were coaching with LJ Clark. We played against you. You did a really nice job with those athletes there. Prior to that, you took 1 year off, and you coached at a different level, the AYF. You were the head football coach of your son's team, which to me, and we were talking about earlier, it's still coaching. Football is football on any level, right? Did you have fun with that?
You know what? One thing about that level, from when I coached at Liberty with Tim Osborne, one thing he always said, I always asked him advice about coaching youth because Tim did it for years. And he just said, blocking and tackle. Listen, get those kids to block and tackle. And no matter what you do, no matter what you run, you're going to be good. And that's one thing he always said. And, he always said another thing about when I was coaching my son's team. He says, if you miss one of your kids' games because of a meeting that we have or a regular practice, he goes, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
So he was very good with that as far as getting to your kids' games. And, when I was on that staff, we had a lot of guys that have kids playing, and he was so good with that. I learned a lot of good things from that man.
Well, Timmy Osborne says that would scare me too, because he was a tough dude.
Great job.
So prior to that, you were with Coach Osborne at Jackson Liberty as the assistant head coach and the O-line coach for 2 years.
Yes.
And before that, that's where you started football coaching, Brick Township High School, 2007, D-line, O-line coach for 11 football seasons, right? That's your resume right there. So you're going to talk about that in a second with the process. But that is, I know you, Len, and I've known you for years. You are what you are. You bring a certain mentality to your football program. You've always were a hardworking, excellent football player that's dedicated, loyal, and you are what you are. And now you as a coach, seeing you as a player too, I think you're the same person. Would you agree?
Yeah, no, I try to be exactly who I was as a player, and I try to bring that type of work ethic that I had as a player into my program, try to instill that into every kid I coach.
That's awesome. 22 years as a football coach and 7 as a head coach. I'm excited to hear your stuff. Now, that leads us right now to the process. This is the best part of the Coach's Talk. You get to tell us, how did you get to where you're at right now as the head coach at Brick Township? You don't just snap a finger and get there. Nothing comes easy. You got to win that interview. You got to do your things that you don't realize are important when you're younger, because that's building up your resume to get to where you are. So all those young football coaches, I love when they get to hear the story of every head coach on how they got to where they got to. Coach, lead us to when you first started playing football. Maybe it was in a Pop Warner at that very, very great football program that you're coaching at right now. Go ahead. Give us a process.
Well, listen, for me, I mean, I started playing football when I was younger in the Brick Pop Warner system. Grew up in that system. Went on to play Brick Township High School football. I graduated Brick in 1990. Played a state championship. Well, we won a state championship my senior year in 1989. Then went on, took a couple of years off. Before I went to college, I took 3 years off, and I went into work in the city as a union carpenter.
Wow.
So I did that for 3 years. I was working for my dad, my uncles, and a bunch of family members that all kind of went into the same business. And after a couple of years, I just realized, it wasn't for me. It really wasn't what I really was passionate about. I started already dreading getting up, going to work every day. So I wanted to do, what I did in college, in high school. I wanted to get up. I wanted to be involved in Brick football, and I wanted to teach in Brick. So I went back to college. I started a couple years later. I started in 1993, and I went to William Patterson, played there with you for a couple years. Just learned a lot of great things at William Patterson, Coach Gallagher. Great guy, great. One thing I always use and I always remember from Coach Gallagher is, God, family, school, football. Is that was his mantra. Always talked about it. He lived it. Great man. That still helps me to this day with anything that I need. So involved in the state, just a great resource.
Coach, he stays.
So many coaches around the state.
He always contacts his alumni through social media, and he's always a phone call away. He's always done it to me too, giving me texts before a game, or maybe I said something on social media that he kind of liked. I mean, it was awesome. He's a great role model to have on your side. Yep. Great mentor, and coming from Brick with Coach Wolf, and then going back to Brick after I was with Coach Gallagher, learned a lot of things. He knew what I wanted to do. He was really helping me while I was in college. He was helping me getting ready for my coaching career. And then I was fortunate enough to get a job in Brick right after graduating. Went there and was immediately D-line coach for my first couple years under Coach Wolf, working for Tim Osborne as a defensive coordinator. Working with so many legendary guys at Coach, Brick. One quick question about, and I do want to hear what you're talking about. How did it feel to come back to a guy that you looked up to all those years, and now you're coaching with him, and you're in the locker room of your coaching locker room with a legend? How was that? Well, I can give you one quick story. My first game coaching in high school was actually 1997 All-Sure game in the summer, because I was coaching the D-line, and I actually was the assistant D-line coach to Al Sainer, who we'll talk about a little later. And Coach Sainer was great with me. And, one thing Coach Wolf put me in charge of the extra point team. And, the coaches had said, and again, when I coaching with these guys who were my coaches, if you're familiar with the Brick coaching staff at that time and to this day, you better have thick skin, because, there's a lot of busting going on in that locker room, in that coach's office. And one thing they told me is you better be ready for anything that Coach Wolf asks you as far as the extra point team is concerned, because he's going to come at you with 50 million questions. And if you don't know one, he's going to badger you on every single thing until you know. So, when we were getting ready that week, he called me up in front of the board. He, Coach Zdanowicz, can you please draw up our extra point block team? And I drew it up, and he said, what if this happens? What if that happens? And I had an answer for everything. And all of a sudden, he comes out with, what if they come out with this situation, and the quarterback in the holder goes under center, the two tackles go wide with the tight ends, it's only a guard here with a backfield, and they're all spread out. I'm like, Coach, I was lost. And all the guys, all the assistant coaches, Coach Osborne, Coach Gianello, Coach Philippone, are like starting to crack up under their breath because they know I don't know the answer. So I kind of just looked at Coach and I said, Coach, that's a lot of stuff. I don't think we can prepare for everything like that. So I'll just go over to you and ask if you want a timeout. And I said that, and all of them gave me like the golf clap like this. And Coach Wolf gave me the, okay, Leonard, that's very good. Thank you. And I sat down. Yeah. And to that point, to that day, I guess I answered, and I showed that I was kind of knowledgeable. And he hasn't badgered me at all. You fooled him. You're knowledgeable. Well, listen, I had all the other answers, but I had the good answer to the question. I had no idea what the answer was. Yeah. So, which is good. But, that guy, one thing Coach Wolf always said, and I really believe in, I tell my coaches, is he'd rather you feel embarrassed in the coach's room than feel humiliated in front of the kids. Meaning, if you didn't know something in front of the kids and they ask you a question and you don't know the answer, you feel humiliated and your kids lose confidence in you.
So he goes, you better let that happen in the coach's office and don't let it happen on the field. So that's one thing I always learned is just always make sure you're ahead of the kids. Always know everything and know your position front and back, everything that's going in. And, the kids will have confidence in you as a coach. And I think that was key, and I think that's key for the whole Brick Township, all the legacy of Coach Wolf's coaches going on and have the success they've had in football and in life.
That's awesome, Coach. I got a couple, and Coach Wolf, we could have a bunch of segments on just him. But me being an outside coach, and I played for him in an All-Star game, and he remembered my name. He would remember my name, But all of a sudden, my name changed when I was a head coach. He used to call me Bobby. And when you have Coach Wolf that calls you a name, you don't correct him. He can call me Pete, Tom. I go, yes, Coach. Hey, Bobby, come here. And he would do it. So one story about him is when I started my football program, we had no seniors. We had a JV team. We were only sophomores and freshmen. And he knew that because when I got the job, he said to me, I love the way you're doing it. I started out, you need anything, let me know. He would always say that. So when we had a JV team, no varsity, I called him up. And he knew exactly I had no juniors, no seniors. So he said, I go, let's play a JV game. I said, yep, Coach, I don't have any juniors. And he kept saying, don't bring your juniors. I said, Coach, I don't have juniors. Okay, but just don't bring them. And that's all he would say. And if I corrected him, it would just be a longer thing. I said, Coach, I don't have juniors. I only have freshmen, sophomores. Oh, that's so great. But just don't try and bring any juniors, though. I don't want to play against juniors. So I said, Coach, so 3 days in a row, I kept saying it, and he kept saying it. And I kept telling him, I don't have juniors. It's just freshmen, sophomores. And all you assistant coaches knew about it. So we get off the bus, and he said to me, he goes, I just want to have sophomores play sophomores. So we get off the bus. You guys are practicing. And I remember his son going, what's going on here? So you guys didn't even know what was going on. Like, you didn't even know that you're going to play a JV scrimmage after a legit practice. So the coaches had no idea. This was just Wolf talking, right? So we get off the bus, and he comes up to me and goes, hey, Bobby, that's a good-looking team. He goes, there better not be any juniors on that bus. I said, Coach, we only have sophomores. I kept repeating it to him. He never understood that. So we get off there, and I go and I talk to, I think it was his son, and I said, yeah, we're playing our guys. Coach doesn't want to play against any juniors. We don't have juniors. He goes, oh, whatever. I said, God, that is a big JV team of all sophomores. The guy goes, sophomores? That's juniors and a couple of our seniors. I go, what? So I said, he goes, don't correct, Coach. Just let him go. So our freshmen, sophomores played a JV scrimmage against your juniors and a couple of your seniors that don't see a lot of varsity time. Against specifically, don't play your juniors. So he said that. The other thing I had a thing with him was I did the Governor Ball with Lou Versillo.
Yeah.
And the unique thing about Coach Wolf was he coached with Joe Coviello in West New York.
Yep.
Now, could you imagine that you're an assistant coach for a guy who's the all-time leading head football coach in victories, leave that program, and he beats him? Coach, he beat him. Tell me that's not a unique story that you could tell people. So he goes and he leaves. The Governor Bowl united him. So now Joe Coviello was the honorary head football coach, and Coach Wolf was the assistant receiver coach. So they lived in a dormitory during the whole week. They were like father and son, just walking with each other, right? So I remember I had to, Coach Versillo told me to remind everybody at 2:00 that we had to have a media day or something like at 2:30. So who's thinking anybody's sleeping at 2:00? So I'm banging on the doors and yelling out in the dormitory, hey, let's go, guys. You got this, right? I go into their door, and there is Coach Wolf and Coach Coviello sleeping on their backs at 2:00. And he gets up and goes, hey, Bobby, we're trying to get some sleep. My bad. I should have realized that people were sleeping at 2:00, but they had a blast that whole week. Seeing Joe Coviello and Coach Wolf just hanging out on the sidelines the whole time for a week was, for me, was something special. I'm sure you heard many stories about Coach Coviello.
Yes. Great, man. Just great. I mean, really, from talking with Coach Wolf, over the years and just hearing so many stories about him, you really didn't have to ask. You would just always get them. And it was just a great part of being part of Brick football all these years, and all the stories and everything that comes with it.
I don't know anybody that's more into tradition than you. You played there, you coached there, and again, you had that legendary coach there, and you're keeping traditions that I keep hearing about right here. Is that important to you to keep those traditions going?
It is. It really is. I mean, it's something that as a head coach, having a lot of guys on my staff that have either played for us or have been in a program for a long period of time, and just telling them the significance of the traditions. And there's so many things that over the years that we've done that we still continue to do. And the kids ask why. And then as a player and even as assistant coach for years, sometimes you just didn't know. You didn't know why we did it. But then after the years, finding out why we did stuff and why he did things the way he did. And just to give you kind of edges on certain things and just make you believe, like, in a way, that there was something bigger that was in the game with you, that if you're following your traditions and you're doing everything you were supposed to do, there's a bigger power involved, that the tradition would help you win games or just whatever it might be. And it's something that I think for years, you don't really realize until I go away to college, I play, and I go to other programs and they don't have that stuff. And then when you come back, you crave it. You crave it and you love it, and you know that the kids buy into it and it means a lot. And it's the kids. And then when the kids start policing on their own, and it's not the coaches talking about it and making things happen, it's the kids reinforcing it. It just lets you know that it's a special place.
Coach, when I talked to him, I said to Coach Wolf, I said, you're pretty superstitious. He goes, no, I'm not, Bobby. I'm not. I just like to chew gum. He always had gum he gave to people before games, but he didn't think that was a superstitious thing. I said, I think it is, because if you didn't give it to him, you wouldn't be very comfortable. He goes, that's not being superstitious. Yes, that's a tradition, but he had a lot of those. I'm sure there's so much traditional stuff that he did that you just can't speak about because it would take you hours and hours and hours. Yep. You had to be a brick. You had to be a brick guy to go through it. And the one thing about tradition, though, you take it away, you're going to miss it. So the people that may complain, we got to do this traditional thing, you take one of them away, and you'll have an onslaught of people that will be demanding it to come back. But that's great.
Oh, yeah.
That's great. When I was at Barnegat, I tried to mirror a lot of stuff what Brick did, and it just keeping the community together and how he did it is just amazing. And just amazing for how many years, because he's also been, the mayor in town? I mean, it's just amazing. So I'm sure he's very, very proud of you on what you're doing and keeping that tradition going, and not just winning on the field, you win off the field.
Well, that's the biggest part of it. I mean, that's the way, Coach Wolf was always involved, and, he was only a phone call away. And, some of the stuff that he did, about calling, he would call so many of us on New Year's Day. I think he spent the whole day on the phone just saying Happy New Year to everybody. Yeah. He really would, Rob. I mean, he would call everybody and just give a quick phone call to everybody and just go stuff like during the school year. On the last day of school, he would go around and go to every school and say goodbye to, have a great summer to every teacher in the district. I mean, that's stuff that is just unbelievable that he would do. And he would take pride in seeing every person and knowing, if you need anything, you come to me. And that was his way of saying, come to me. I'm coming to you now to tell you my door's always open. Yeah. And it's just a great way, and it's a great way our community is still to this day.
I love the fact that there are certain people that when you see somebody coming in, you got to fix your shirt, you got to tuck it in, because you don't ever want to disappoint a certain person, like your father, like a coach, somebody that you respect, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that in society if you have somebody that you not fear, but you just don't want to let down. All right, now let's talk COVID. But first, I want to take this thing off because I'm sick of wearing a mask, even though I look a lot better with the mask. I got a lot of compliments with that. But us football coaches had to put up with a lot of stuff because I don't think there was a lot of people out there that wanted football to happen across the country. You heard college programs folding. The NFL was in jeopardy. High schools throughout other states were not playing. And we kind of were very, very, we were very lucky to play this year. The one thing I've told people all the time with the pods, I've never knew what a pod was before the pods came out, was why 10? Our phase 1. Come on, Lenny. No football and only 10 people in a pod. Whoever was in those committees, and you know it as well, you need 11. You need 11. All the other sports were cool with it. Basketball coaches were probably like, 10? That's cool. 5-5. We could do a little baseball. Yeah, we don't even need that extra guy. We need him. We need 11, Coach.
I think it was Coach Gallagher that did that, Rob. It was Coach Gallagher. He didn't need that split end. He just needed the other.
There you go. It's just I just think about it from a football coach's perspective. You couldn't squeeze 11 guys. Okay, no groups more than 11, but somehow it was 10. So somebody in those meetings did not want football to go on. I really believe it. But enough about that. Tell me something positive that the Brick Township program learned from the COVID.
You know what? The one thing that I could tell you is the one thing that I think that we talked about as a staff and as a program was to just be happy and be fortunate for what you have. Because at any point, and you say this to kids, you're talking about injuries and stuff, and you said it could be taken away from you in a minute. But with this, it could have been taken away from all of us in any moment. Like it was for us eventually. But it was a lot of, holding each other accountable and talking about accountability with your kids, and saying, listen, are you going to risk shutting down our program to go hang out with these kids who maybe aren't doing the right thing all week? And then you're going to take one day and go hang out with them and possibly have our whole program shut down. So it was a lot of stuff about, the teamwork aspect of it, putting others before yourself, just making sure you're doing the right thing. And then as a coach, a lot of stuff with, going through it. There was a while where I think a lot of us thought, man, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're going to shut us down. They're going to shut us down. And I would just talk to my staff and say, guys, listen, just prepare every day like we are playing a season. We have to prepare that way. We're going through everything. And again, summer wasn't the normal summer that we normally do, but we prepared and we put a whole list marked out every day and mapped it out as if we were playing that first game when we were. And we went according to the plan. And, just stressing that stuff to the kids and just kind of like sometimes when there was doubt in your head as a coach, just not letting the kids see it and just going, guys, we're definitely playing. We are definitely playing. And myself, I don't think I believed that until the day before our first game. I'm like, yes, we are definitely playing that.
Yeah.
So it was great to get there. It was great to have the season. The difference in the technology and how to watch films, how we had our meetings through all the online stuff, having meetings with coaches. Yeah. And Huddle has made that so much easier than what it used to be. But, I think that helps all of us as coaches, having our meetings through Google Meets, having meetings with the kids, individual meetings with assistant coaches with their guys, small meetings, large meetings, everything, whatever it was, to try to get the kids to understand, what you're trying to coach into them. Mm-hmm. And I think that was key, where everybody kind of like picked it up a little bit. And I'm saying for us, we got shut down in the last week. We had one kid test positive, and he didn't even feel sick. He was going in for surgery, and they said, you have COVID. He was like, what? And the kid was fine, but because of the contact tracing, it went back through our whole program. So we had to shut down and missed our last game. And right there, the kids, just our seniors, it was like, wow, yeah, that was our last game, and they didn't know it, which, sometimes it happens in the playoffs like that too. But, for the kids, it stinks that way, where – they didn't have their last game that they thought they were going to have. And if I had one of my seniors that was coming back from an injury for the last game, and that was just to get back on the field, and all of a sudden, I got to tell the kids it's over. And, that kid was crushed. One of my best kids I love.
That was terrible.
And it just stinks, But, again, I think we all learned a lot from it. I learned one thing, just never take anything for granted.
Coach, you're right. With the COVID, you never knew when was the last time you were going to step on the field, whatever. That's why when I stepped down, I did that before the St. John Vianney game, because I didn't know if we played a game and then we got COVID, I would have to talk to everybody through a Google Meet, and it wasn't fair for me in the program. Right. And I said that to my AD, and when he understood that, he knew what I was talking about, because at the time, everybody was getting COVID at the end of the season, and I was getting nervous because every time that phone rang, you were nervous to pick it up because you didn't know what was going on. So that was 100%, man. I'm glad you hit those stuff about what you made positive in your brick community with the COVID. And you overcame it, and thank God we're getting closer to normal right now. Okay, now, Coach, we're going to talk 2021 Brick Township High School football schedule. I got it on the left, and on the right-hand side, the newly formed Independence Division, and I can't wait to hear a little bit about what you think about both. Coach, go ahead. Take the schedule.
Well, for us, we actually were opening up first on the 10th against Lacey, and I wanted to get another game in there beforehand on the 3rd. And, I called a couple places and tried to find guys. And then when I thought about it and I talked to some of our guys, we talked about how great would it be to play Toms River South again.
Oh, that's huge.
Toms River South is one of those rivalries.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I was in school, it was a big rivalry for us. And calling up Ron and ask him, hey, you want to get this going? And he goes, yes, let's do it. And he goes, can I have it home? I said, yes, you can, because we love coming to Detweiler Stadium and playing at Toms River South. I think it's got one of the best atmospheres in high school football, the way they do everything. And I'm not just saying that because my wife is an alumni of there. I'm just saying it because it is very impressive how they do it. So we know South had a great season last year, and we know they're going to be a tough team for us this year. And then we're going to be on the road at Lacey, and we know Lacey's going to be a big, powerful football team. Coach Versillo there doing what he's done for all the years. So much respect for that guy, and it's going to be great to go down there and play a night game at Lacey, which we've played a couple of games there, and it's never been a night game. So it's exciting to go there.
Yeah, Coach Versillo likes to go to bed early, so the longer the game is going on, advantage to Brick because he likes to sleep.
So after that, going to go home. We'll have our first home game against Howell, and Billy Hill taking over there.
Mm-hmm.
Legendary Howell guy.
Mm-hmm.
Good guy. I've known him for years, so we know they're going to bring some fire, bring a different attitude with Coach Hill there. And then we open up. We have our away game against Brick Memorial on the other side of town, and that's always going to be a big rivalry game for us.
Coach, quick question: why was Brick Memorial? Because I know you play them at night. I mean, at the end of the season. Or the beginning? Why the middle? Why did that go to the middle?
It's where it fell. I was trying to see if we can get that back to the first game, and it was only a one-way street on that. So that's where we're going to play it where it lies.
Okay.
So we'll play there on Saturday afternoon, and Coach Curry and us have a good rapport back and forth, and we always have it's a mob place. It's packed. Mm-hmm. And it's always a bloodbath with us, and it's just the way it should be between a rivalry game like that. And then we're going to be at home against Ocean. Haven't played Ocean in years. Coach Klein does a good job up there. They got a lot of great athletes. I've seen them on tape, and we watched them against other teams. They always look like they got some real good athletes and some physical guys up front. So that's going to be a good test for us. And then we're going to be home again with Middletown North and with Coach Bush. Mm-hmm. We've had a good rivalry with North over the years. We haven't played them a lot, but every time we've played them, it seems like it comes down to the wire, no matter what the records are with both of us.
Well-coached team.
Bush, he does a great job there, so that's going to be another game. I think it's going to be another physical game for us. And then a Neptune game, which, don't know much about. Coach, what's his name?
Coach Duffy.
Coach Duffy, Brian Duffy, right. He was at Wall, was a Brick Memorial guy, so he's very familiar with us. And Coach Duffy's a good coach. I've seen him do his work as an offensive line coach. So that's going to be a physical football team. I can tell you that right there. Mm-hmm. So we'll have to be ready for them. And then from there, we'll have our pod play, and hopefully we're fortunate enough to get back into playoffs and see what we can do.
Okay. I mean, that's a pretty good schedule you got there with those non-conference games. You got Ocean, Toms River South. Two teams that are going to be in the top 20 in the Shore polls. And then you got Neptune that's got a lot of talent with a new head football coach. So you never know what's going to happen with that, but only something positive is going to come out of that. Now, turning over to the division in the new Independence division, it's different. It's different right now because you are an A South, B South traditional type of guy. To name these divisions differently when they reorder it, it's a little bit of an adjustment, but us coaches, we make do. Looking at it right now, you have Brick Memorial. I'm just looking at Brick Memorial is your rivalry. So you got a Brick Memorial on there that, I mean, just throw out records and the team with the most emotion and execution on that day wins it. And Coach Curry does a great job. You guys are a body of consistency every single year. Tough guys on and off the field. Howell with Coach Hill just became the head football coach, a legendary icon there in Howell. They're going to be on a real high end this year with Coach Generelli coaching there. And Lacey Township is one of the most consistent football programs in the Shore Conference. In Middletown North with Coach Bush, who's a college football coach, coaching at Middletown North. I mean, they're well coached, and they're going to be a scary team this year. What do you think about that division?
Yeah, the division. Listen, it's a tough division. Knowing a lot of the coaches in that division, you got a lot of tradition in there, and you have a lot of teams that you better be able to cover the whole field against in option football and everything in this division. And I look at the division and I say to our staff and our coaches, we talk about it. And I think our kids, look at the division and they say, guys, we do what we do. We can win every game. Mm-hmm. And if we don't do what we're supposed to do, we can lose every game. Mm-hmm. And that's basically how I look at that. Look at our division this year. Saying that we're going to be as good as we think we can be, and we perform on the field. Because I think every team in there could beat us, and I think in every team in that division we can beat.
What's that word called? I was not very good at vocabulary in English. Is it parity? Parity, right?
Parity.
The fans love it. Do you really love parity, or do you like to have some games where you say we're going to be okay?
Listen, I'd like to just play the same teams every year and get to know.
Yes,
that's what I like.
Yes,
because I guess we know A South and B South, there wasn't much wrong with it.
Okay, now, Coach, talk about your 2021 Brick Township coaching staff.
All right. Well, listen, one thing that I'm very happy about, and in and out every year, I think we always have a solid coaching staff. This year, I think we're adding some more youth to our staff, and I'm glad to get some former players back in our staff. But basically, our coaching staff will consist on offense. Running the offense will be longtime short conference coach Bill McDonough will be running the offense, doing the quarterbacks and working with the running backs a little bit. I'll be doing a little bit of running back work also. Working with the wide receivers and our wings and our slots will be John Dolan, who's been in his third year back here at Brick with us, longtime coach up at Carteret. Bill was a longtime Brick coach and also was a defense coordinator at Toms River South for a couple of years also.
And his son played there too, right?
Yes, Bill's son, Dylan McDonald, was a great player at Brick, a scholarship player at Bucknell, real good football player. Tight end coach would be Andrew Cruz, who was played for me at Brick. Went on to play football at Moravian, and now he's back coaching tight ends and helping with the offensive line. Offensive line coach is one of my former players, played with me with Coach Wolf, Jared Kite, who is as good as they come as an offensive line coach. He's awesome with the kids. He played at Brick, he played a little bit at Monmouth, and he's been coaching at Brick ever since. On the defense, our defense coordinator, longtime coordinator Brian McNamara, does a great job for us. Very good with the kids. He'll be coaching the outside linebackers this year. Chad Doherty, who has been coaching with us for probably like 5 years now, 6 years, and before that he was a coach at Monsignor Donovan and played at Donovan. He's a teacher in the building. So glad to have Chris back. Brian was a long time. He was a coach. Brian played high school at Middletown South for some good coaches at Middletown South, and then he's been at Brick since he's been 21 years old when he first came on with us, and he's been doing a great job here for us. Defensive line, one of my former players back when I coached with Coach Wolf, Joe Smythe, who was an offensive line, defensive lineman, was our MVP of our team. So I'm glad to get him back. He's started last year, first year, coaching our defensive line. And also another guy I'm glad to get on our staff, D-back coach, John Prado, who played for us a couple years back, was one of our quarterbacks, D-backs.
Great athlete.
And now he's going to be coaching D-backs and teaching in the building. So I'm just glad to have a lot of guys in the building and a lot of Brick guys on that staff too. And then kickers and special teams is Kurt Weibolt, one of my teammates, played with me at Brick, played collegiately at Kane University.
Great.
Still holds the record for a field goal during the All-Shore game.
52 yards, was it?
A hot dog on the sideline. Remember that story?
I remember that.
That was Kurt. So he's great with our special teams and helping me out with a lot of other stuff with the program. And then my personal coach, when he can get there, is Coach Al Sainer. He basically coaches me up on what I do wrong, what I got to do better.
Yeah.
And he's a great voice and a great, you're having a guy with that experience and that type of record to be there to tell you what you're doing right, what you're doing wrong is God sent for any coach that can get one.
Humbles you. Really,
those old guys are out there that want to help your staff out. I definitely recommend getting one of them on your staff because they're really good to have around with the kids. And just the little stories he gives to the kids here and there, you can see the kids really that they soak everything up that he says. He's a little link for us. He played for Coach Wolf and Coach Coviello at Memorial West New York, and then coming down here, very long, successful career at Point Borough, and having him with us is just a godsend for me.
Coach, that's a great mix. Go ahead. I'll interject.
Yeah, freshman staff. We have a couple guys in the freshman staff that Jay Groeschel is our head freshman coach. He's another guy. He graduated with me from Brick. He played football and baseball. He is our head baseball coach at the high school. Does a great job with both sports. Chris Blackburn is our defensive coordinator on the freshman staff. He's the head lacrosse coach, and he's a longtime D-line coach. But he wanted to get with the freshman level to concentrate on doing a little bit more for his lacrosse program, which is fine for me because it just added to the strength of our freshman staff. Another guy in the freshman staff is Wayne Niedermeyer, who played for me back in 2003, was a dominating defensive lineman on a real good football team we had. And his teammate, Dan Dornacker, who played collegiately at TCNJ. And then Scott Carroll, another guy that's a retired law enforcement officer that likes to come around and help out with the program. So, all in all, we got 15 guys, to help out these kids. And, we're two platoon with our coaches, and we have our kids broken down. Basically, we have all the kids we coach together, and everybody works with all the kids. The freshmen will come in and work with varsity coaches right away. And, we get the kids acclimated to our program, and we're hoping that's going to help us out in the long run.
Coach, that's a lot of coaches. What do you use, 2 buses for just coaches?
Yeah, well, we got a lot of guys, But again, it's, when you have a program like Brick, you have a lot of alumni that want to come back.
Yeah.
They want to give, even if they're not teaching and they're not, they can't, they make time during the season. Like my offensive line coach, Coach Kite, is a corrections officer at the Ocean County Jail. And he makes time. He has to, basically, he loses money to coach football. But he loves it so much. He loves working with the kids so much that he just wants to be there. So that's what we get at Brick, which is very fortunate for me.
Coach, as well as I do, as being a head coach, you got to get a certain kind of mix of guys. You want to have, like you said, a Coach Sainer guy that can relate to the players a certain way. And then you have established coaches, veteran coaches that are active coaches right now in your program. And then you got the young guys coming in that are all excited that these kids kind of know who they were when they played. That is a great mix of coaches that you have on your staff. Would you agree?
Listen, I'm happy as heck with what I got, and I can't thank our administration enough for trying to look for these guys and getting these guys and interviewing them. And, listen, a lot of the guys, too, that we got Andrew and John recently got jobs, and, the administration said they were the best guys for the job, and they're going to be great for additions for your staff. And I'm just glad to have them there because I think it's only going to help out the kids in our school. I
mean, again, as a coach, you want to market your players and your coaches. I mean, you guys, you got great guys. You got young, you got veteran guys that are active. You have also retired elder guys on the staff. Your tradition at Brick is second to none. Hey, Coach, now we're going to talk 2021 Brick Township High School football team, this year's team. All right, but before we go on, I just want to say this about you to everybody out there. There probably isn't another coach out there that fights for their kids as much as you do. You want it the best for these kids on and off the field. Again, maybe because you're an alumni, or maybe because you're very prideful, or maybe both. But whatever it is, I know when it comes to all-star teams, you go and you fight for your program second to none. And that is a credit to you. Before you talk about your players, and I know you're going to talk about these players with a lot of passion, I wanted people to know that this ain't phony. You're like this 24/7, and you love it. You love being a Brick Dragon, and that's something that I always respected about you. All right, now, Coach, I want you to talk about your offensive and defensive schemes, and then tell us proudly about your key returning players you got and why Brick Township's very excited about the 2021 season.
On offense, we're going to be more of like we're going to be a wing T team based out of shotgun and under center. So we're going to do a little bit of everything as far as some jet sweep stuff with a lot of stuff off the jet sweep. We're going to be a little bit of jet sweep, a little bit of power, a little bit of everything in the offensive scheme wise. Defensively, we're going to be more of an odd front base with our program. We have a lot of kids back on both sides of the ball. And, Coach McNamara on D, fitting our defense around. He does a great job every year, just fitting the scheme around the kids that we got. It's not the other way around. He adjusts to what we have.
Very aggressive. From what I remember, he's very aggressive coming after the ball.
Yes, very aggressive. And then on offense, Coach McDonald, I work a lot with him, getting the offense to fit what we got. We got a lot of kids. We got a lot of quick kids that can run pretty good. So again, it's at Brick. We got a lot of receivers. I mean, a lot of running backs normally, and we got a lot of kids that are not overly big kids, just kind of tough kids. And we're going to get them the ball anywhere we can, all over the field. And we're going to have some fun with that this year. As far as our outlook and our team, we're real excited. We got a lot of kids back that have played a lot of football for us. Looking at it, basically, if I go back on both sides of the ball, I'll go through some of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
From there, our key returners coming back. We actually have a 4-year starter coming back who started on our as a freshman. He started on the state championship runner-up team, Darian Newcomb, at offensive line.
And he's one of the best in the shore coming back.
Listen, no, I mean, there's no doubt about it. The kid is an emotional leader. He's fiery. He's a leader. He knows how to bring it up when it needs to come up. He knows how to tone it down, and he knows how to get the best out of every kid, and how he just talks to every kid on the team like they're all important. He's a great leader. Along with Darian coming back, we have Tyler Weisnick, who's was knocked out last year in one of our games and didn't complete the season, but he's been a 3-year starter for us. He'll be dynamic kid, short kid, powerful, great moves, great balance. So he'll be one of our running backs. Our quarterback was started on the defensive side of the ball last year and played at the end of the season when we had a quarterback injury. Ryan Panuska, who's the son of our athletic director, Pete Panuska.
Boy, that name's very familiar in Brick, huh? Panuska.
Very familiar. I mean, Pete Panuska, Paul Panuska, legendary players at Brick Township High School. Pete might be the all-around best player to ever come out of the building. Went down and played a successful career at Tennessee. And his son is every bit of you expect of a guy like Pete. Knowing Pete, and the people that know him, his son is awesome. He's just a great kid.
Wow.
Extremely coachable in every aspect of the game. So those are some of our key returners, along with Ryan Kirk in our secondary and as our slots and wings. Mikey Schleifer, another one of our running backs that's back this year, did a good job running inside last year. Going to move him all over the field this year running the ball. Riley Bell, son of another kid that played for us years ago, Gary. He's as tough as nails, Riley, just like his father was for us.
Wow.
Tough kid. He's going to be a little bit of in the backfield for us and be our returning starting middle linebacker. Jason Norman, another kid that really worked his butt off in the offseason, getting better. Contributed last year a little bit, and this year we're expecting big things from him this year. And then I think another kid at linebacker, Colin Wilson, played for us halfway through the season last year, started some games, and he's gotten a lot bigger this year. He's a savant on the field. He knows how to diagnose things. He does a great job out there for us at the middle linebacker position, and also working in with a little bit of on the offensive line. But the key returners for us is we really have 5 offensive linemen back that have played last year.
Wow.
Our center last year graduated, but we have another kid that we rotated in a little bit in other spots. So basically, our offensive line is all back. At left tackle, we have Vin Calderis, who's going to be back. At left guard, A.J. Ellis. At center is going to be A.J. Lorenzo, who played some time last year at guard and tackle. At the other guard is going to be Jason Glass. He's also working at an outside linebacker. And then at tackle is going to be Darian Newcomb, playing our right tackle position. And tight end is a kid that played a little bit at the end of last year. And he's one of our returning tight end starters, Tyson Lopez, who really has put a lot of hard work in this year too. So we feel we have a team. I know whatever division we're competing in, we have a team that we feel we can compete with anybody. On the defensive line, we have 2 sophomores last year that started on the defensive line, John Kaiser and Michael Parmesan. These 2 kids that really, really fell in love with the weight room this offseason and have put on about 25 pounds of muscle and are going to be very disruptive in our 3-4 scheme for other defenses, for our other opposing offenses. Wow. So with that, we have those kids back, and we have some other kids that are pressing those guys, that are going to make it tough for these kids. And that's what I told the kids. The more competition we have, the better of a football team we're going to have. The more time we can get up in practice and put multiple guys in up spots and challenge each other, the better we're going to be as a team. And right now, we got that. We have these kids a lot of these kids have played in the past. But like I told the kids is, some of the kids that are coming up, we have some sophomore kids that are really they're really banging some heads out there, and they're opening some eyes for the coaches. And, we have about 3 or 4 softs we feel might wind up, cracking the starting lineup. Could Travis Trempe, Jacob Toy, Will Walsh, Vinny Trainer, just kids that are just really working hard and are pushing the older kids. And I love it because, again, for me, they're all weight room kids, and they love lifting, they love working out. And I think that's got to be the basis of your program nowadays. And it's always the basis for a program that I'm going to be coaching.
Coach, that is awesome. You just I mean, you just gave me a bunch of names that you're just as excited as the last name that you were talking about. I've always said going into a season, find me 17 players that can play offense, defense, and we'll be pretty good. And if we didn't have 17, we wouldn't be as good. If we have over it, and you had over 17, and that means you get to wear teams down. You probably
Yes.
have a lot of guys that are at the same level. So if he's an offensive guy, he'll be a defensive guy, a backup, and then flip it the other way. So your practices must be pretty fun because they're pretty competitive, and you have a lot of experience. Because I know last year you were telling me that you couldn't wait to coach this year because you're going to be, a lot of guys coming back. So that's exciting times having a lot of key returners, right?
Yeah, listen, it raises the expectations where they should be every year. Last year we didn't have a lot of kids coming back,
Mm-hmm.
and again, sometimes when you have sophomore kids having to play or your underclass kids having to play because you don't have anybody in front of them,
Mm-hmm.
That becomes like a necessity.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have younger kids that are trying to beat out older kids,
Mm-hmm.
that's a good trait of your program,
Yeah.
which is right now, I think we have 3 good levels of football, kids at every level, as far as like, our seniors, our juniors, and our sophomores. We have kids at every level that I think are going to help us with the team, which is the key. I mean, I think we have kids, and I don't think we're going to have, God forbid anything happens injury-wise, I think we're not going to have much drop-off. I got some other kids I forgot to mention. I mean, I'm thinking about their names now, with A.J. Greigel in the secondary. Some other kids that they come into my mind now that I think are just going to be kids that are going to be tough for us. They're going to be great competition. We got receivers, Malachi Wright and Logan Lundgren that are doing a good job for us. We just got a lot of guys that are really mixing it up right now. And, we do some competitive stuff every day when we finish a practice right now. And, I love how the kids just start getting ready to go and cheering each other on. We did a grip off today in the weight room where we did this thing for a grip off. And it just got so intense. I mean, it's awesome. It's the stuff that you love doing and why you put all that hours in the summer. And when you can when you can create stuff in the weight room like that, competitive stuff, whether it's a tug of war, whether it's one-on-ones, whatever it might be, we try to do that stuff. And we have Coach Rochelle is doing a good job doing that stuff during, my freshman coaches when they come to practice now. They put together the competition stuff and they pick stuff out. They're doing a great job with it, Chris and Jay. And it's great, man. It really is. I got a great staff, and I'm very fortunate.
Well, Coach, I don't know anything you do that's not passionate with passion and intensity. And I know the weight room, which speaks volumes of you. Your guys come out jacked up. I mean, you go after in the weight room. I love what you do with your linemen in the summer with your big guys competing and doing all that stuff. So you really do a good job with that because everybody talks 7-on-7s and then linemen go just lift. No, you have them compete. So it's just as important that they do that. You installed that in the short conference. So people are mimicking what you're doing right there. And that's a credit to you with that. And do you think because you were a lineman that you see that end of it, or as a head football coach that you thought that had to be done, lineman getting attention?
I don't know, because I've only been one thing. I've only been a lineman. So I don't know if other head coaches feel the same way. But having been a lineman and having coached the line for years, it all starts with the offensive line. I mean, listen, we have some fun with the 7-on-7 in the summer. And, my offensive line coach, Coach Kite, jokes at me all the time about, can we just put our receivers in 3-point stances too? And he jokes around with stuff like that. And he means it. He really does. He goes, listen, let's just put 10 linemen on the field and one guy can. I mean, it's just fun stuff. But I believe that, listen, you got an offensive line that can block people and just get stalemates, move people out of the way. I don't care what you run, you're going to be successful, man. You're going to be successful.
Well,
I like the fact that we do this little competition thing. We do it. You came over one year and did it with us. But we do a lineman competition and we do a 7-on-7 at the same time. And you remember this, man. And every coach says the same thing, that the 7-on-7's going on and the lineman challenge over there going on. And you hear all this excitement coming from the lineman challenge. And all the skill guys are starting to walk over there, trying, what's going on over there? And they're cheering each other on. And I love the fact that the linemen are getting all the attention.
Oh, yeah.
Because usually it's all the 7-on-7. All the linemen get to watch and they play their own. And now they're over there and they're competing against the other team's linemen. And they're doing all this strongman act stuff, flipping tires, carrying heavy things, picking things up, throwing them down, pushing sleds, all the fun stuff that linemen do. And all the skill guys are working their way over there because they're jealous. because they're having so much fun. And I love that part of it because, listen, they all got to come together for us to have a successful team. But I just love the fact that, and I say to the kids, what are we doing more than anything? We're competing.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do. You got to compete. And the more they compete, the more they hate losing, and the more they want to win. So you want to put them in as many competition drills as you possibly can, and that's what we try to do.
Well, football is a lot of copy and paste. We steal ideas, and then we kind of put a little twist on it and say, oh, it's ours.
Yeah.
I stole stuff from you. When we went down with you guys on that Wednesday, and we played 3 7-on-7s, the linemen were competing, and everybody gelled. And we came back, and the linemen couldn't wait to hear what we were doing, and the skill kids couldn't wait to hear how those guys are doing. It built our guys up. You're doing a great job bringing guys from all over the shore, and they're saying the same thing too. And that's a credit to you. And you're watching your guys compete against some of the top talented programs in the Shore Conference. You guys look forward to those Wednesdays, don't you?
Oh, listen, man. Last week we had a little lightning, which kind of put a little damper on it, and it stunk because we played a little bit. And we really wanted to get out there and compete. We were going to have some fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And the linemen got through a few drills before they got shut off too. And the lightning screwed it up. And we have another team coming in tomorrow, Wednesday, and I look at the schedule right now, and there's supposed to be thunderstorms again. So, it just stinks. But listen, we're going to try to do whatever we can to make sure we have them because, listen, the kids want to compete, and I want them out there having fun. Because, again, that's stuff that we didn't have last year. We didn't get to do. And I feel like some of the kids were robbed. I mean, as much as we were grateful for what we had, we just didn't get everything that – I want them to have the whole brick football experience, we call it, and doing everything that we do in every aspect of what we do. And I want the kids to have that. And last year – we did as much as we could, but we didn't get, more than anybody. And the biggest thing about high school football, I think, and football in general, is the locker room. The kids in the locker room, I love the fact that sometimes when we get there, I leave the door open, I look out there, and I watch the kids and I interact in the locker room. You hear the cracking up, you hear the laughing, you see the freshman kids laughing with the seniors, you see sophomores laughing with the older kids. Guys are busting chops and they're having fun. That's the part of high school football that I think you miss when you leave. When you're not, with your friends and you're going away or you graduate, you don't play anymore. You miss that action, that all that camaraderie in the locker room with your buddies. Right. You miss that, and that's where last year not having a locker room, opening up your trunk, grabbing your pads, and sitting out there, that's not football. It stinks, but that's what we had to do. But this year, seeing the kids in the locker room with each other, the music blasting, one kid's doing a dance off against another kid, whatever it is, it's just part of football that I'm glad these kids have back, and hopefully we'll have a whole season of it this year.
God, you depressed me. I'm looking forward to retirement, and now I'm going to be missing what you just told me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick open the locker room, and you're going to have a reporter that wants to interview you guys.
Yeah,
so I have to do that stuff. Lenny, this was awesome. Great interview. I'm so glad that people got a chance to hear the head football coach at Brick Township High School, an alumni, a guy that bleeds Brick Dragons green. You really do. And you have some proof on one of the shirts, you said too, right? Yeah. Lenny, there isn't anybody that fights and does as much for their program as you do. And you're in a program that's a traditional state power. And I'm looking forward to seeing this group of core players have a successful season in the 2021 season. And I know they will. Stay healthy and have fun and enjoy every moment, Coach. And the other thing is, make sure that you promote the shorefootballreport.com. It's a website. I'm a .com dude. I am a proud .com daddy. All right. The shorefootballreport.com. Spread it about this video. Your video will be on that website tonight so everybody in the Shore can see it. And I'm proud to have you on the show. Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Rob. Listen, man, I look forward to seeing you do this year.
Oh, yeah.
And, I know it stinks for you. And I know you want to be out there on the sidelines. I know you got to take care of yourself a little bit and making sure you're healthy to be there in the long run and be there for your girls. But it's great that you're doing this. And I can't think of a better ambassador for high school football on the Shore than you. I mean, I think you love high school football. You love the Shore Conference. Just all this stuff that you're doing, just starting from the ground up. Yeah. I think it's right up your alley, and I think it's something great for us. And if you never get out there again coaching at the sidelines, I would love your invite to come to my side anytime. To come around there, get your taste of football, do some interviews, because I know, like, if I get you to see my kids and evaluate them and help promote them the way you do and the way you've always done your kids, it definitely can help out. And again, in the end, what are we here for? We're here for the kids.
Oh,
We want to see these kids be successful in 10 years, and that's what we're all.
Well, thank you, Coach. I mean, maybe we're both, we were kind of made from the same person with Coach Gallagher. When we both do something, we can't go half butt. We have to go full boat, whatever we do. And me doing this, I have to go all in. I can't just kind of just sit on the couch and do nothing. So I know I surprised a lot of people. Go, what are you doing? Well, I'm doing stuff now, but I'm doing it from a broader spectrum where all the programs, not just my Barnegat program. And I'm proud to be covering you guys. And we're going to have a lot of stuff on this website with Brick. We'll dial it up in the next couple of weeks. Coach, thank you very much. And best of luck to you guys.
Thanks, man.